Pizza delivery jobs are supposed to be boring. Drive, drop, smile, repeat. I never thought one would end with me holding a photo someone else took of me. From inside a house I never entered. It was almost midnight when I pulled up to a porch surrounded by nothing but trees. The house was dark, the steps moss-covered, and the wooden door stood half open like someone had just stepped inside. My headlights caught the glint of shattered window glass, and I remember thinking, take the photo. Get back in the van. So I did. Raised my phone. Flash. That's when I saw it. A sliver of light, just past the doorway, low to the floor, like someone was crawling with a flashlight. I should have left. But the tip was decent, and the system showed the job as prepaid. So I dropped the box, snapped the proof of delivery pic, and turned to go. Then I heard it. 3 knocks. Not behind me. Not on the door. From inside the house. I had just turned 17 that summer. The night shifts for Quick Dash Courier were my way of saving up for community college. The work was simple. Pick up sealed packages from the depot, scan the barcode, let the GPS guide me, and snap a photo when the job was done. Most nights were the same. Well-lit porches, apartment lobbies with motion lights, the occasional warehouse at the edge of town. I kept myself awake with cheap gas station coffee and a playlist of 70s rock classics. It was dull, routine, comfortably forgettable. That night was supposed to be the same. I was down to my last delivery when Cole, my dispatcher, radioed in a one-off order. His voice crackled through the speaker, half asleep. Last run of the night errand just came in. Small brown box. Same-day rush, prepaid. Address is 301 Old Quarry Road. GPS says 22 minutes. Old Quarry Road didn't sound familiar, but I didn't argue. More miles meant a bigger tip. I logged the job, slotted the box onto the passenger seat, and pulled out of the depot parking lot. The lights behind me faded into the October dark. As I crossed the Cedar River, frost shimmered along the roadside ditches. The farther I drove, the fewer houses I saw. My cell signal dropped to a single bar. Totally normal for the edge of town. The last place to lose reception before you hit real nowhere. The GPS voice told me to turn left. What appeared wasn't a road. It was a strip of cracked asphalt, more weeds than pavement. I slowed to a crawl, double-checked the screen. Arriving at destination in 0.2 miles. Leaning mailboxes lined the overgrowth. Trees crowded overhead. No lights, no landmarks, just 2 high beams cutting the dark. I remember muttering to myself, something like, just another porch photo, 5 minutes and done. That's when I saw the house. And I realized I hadn't passed a single other building in almost 10 minutes. The place looked dead. A 2-story farmhouse slouched at the end of a gravel pull-in, its paint peeled to bare wood. Every window was either shattered or sealed with warped plywood. The porch rail sagged in the middle like a snapped spine. In the mailbox, a yellowed newspaper was wedged under the flag, still raised. The date? January. It was mid-October. No lights. No parked car. No motion. Just the green GPS pin pulsing. Destination reached. I killed the engine. For a second, all I heard was the tick of cooling metal and wind in the brittle leaves. Company policy said I had to at least attempt delivery. But everything in me, every hair on my arms, said this was a joke, a prank, maybe even a trap. I reached for the shift to back out. That's when I heard it. 3 slow knocks. Solid, deliberate, wood on wood. Not the brittle tap of a branch. My eyes snapped to the porch. A thin column blocked most of the view. But I could see the door now, partially open, swaying, just enough to make it worse. Whoever knocked was gone, or hiding. My phone read 11:37 p.m. I scrolled the order info, found the customer number, and dialed. 2 rings. Then voicemail. It was a whisper. Breathy. Muffled. Like someone talking through a paper towel tube. Leave the box and walk away. That's all. No name. No greeting. Then the line went dead. I felt a chill thread down my ribs. Whoever left that message, they knew the exact second I'd call. I should have driven away. I even imagined the conversation with my boss the next day. Weird house, nobody home, failed delivery. Sorry. I could live with that. But I also pictured the $30 rush bonus, and how I'd tell my mom I skipped out because a door opened by itself. So I made a choice. I got out. The box was shoebox sized. Ordinary cardboard. No return label. I held it like a shield as I stepped onto the gravel. The porch groaned under my sneakers. Up close, the door looked worse. Varnish bubbled, the knob missing. Screws barely holding the hinges. I set the box on the welcome mat. The word, welcome, worn almost to nothing. Pulled out my phone. Took the delivery photo. Flash. For a split second, the camera lit everything. The door frame, the sagging porch rail, the gap behind the door, and something else. Deeper inside, past the entryway, a thin beam of white light swept across the floor like a flashlight. It drifted left, then vanished. That was enough. I turned and half ran down the porch steps, shoes sliding on moss. I jumped in the van, heart slamming in my ears. Key in, turned. Click. Nothing. Tried again. Click. No ignition. No starter. Just the dome light flickering weakly. The battery couldn't be dead. I'd replaced it 2 weeks ago. I gripped the wheel. Frozen. Out the windshield, the house stared back. Still. Silent. Then the door creaked. Wider. The opening grew until the black void inside was at least 2 feet across. I stared, waiting for someone, anyone, to step out. No one did. Instead, the cardboard box, the one I left, slid backward across the porch. No hands, no feet, just the scrape of cardboard on wood. Then the door slammed shut. I yelled, "I won't lie!" Not a word, just a raw, cracked sound of pure panic. I popped the hood and grabbed my flashlight, pretending I was checking the engine, as if that would help. Under the hood, everything looked fine. Clamps tight, leads clean. Then, a sound from the house. Screech, like nails dragging across glass. One of the shattered window panes gave way, dropping a shard to the ground. I slammed the hood, and I started walking. No signal, no power. Just gravel popping under my sneakers and the growing cold behind my neck. 50 yards out, I saw a glow. Headlights. A cruiser. Deputy Matt's. I ran toward it, arms waving. He stopped, leaned out the window, mustache twitching. "You good?" "No," I said, almost laughing. "Nope." I spilled the whole thing, rushed, tangled. But he took it seriously enough to call it in. He offered me a ride back. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. Then he turned the cruiser into the driveway, and we both saw it. Porch empty. Door closed. The box gone. Matt left the cruiser spotlight on the steps and drew his sidearm. "Wait here," he said. I didn't argue. He approached slowly, pushed the front door with 2 fingers. It swung inward, smoothly. No sign the hinges had ever sagged. His flashlight beam swept the entry, peeling wallpaper, molded insulation, bare floorboards. The smell rolled out thick, rot, and wet wood. "Clear downstairs," he muttered into his radio, checking 2nd floor. Time crawled. Wind rattled the gutters. Nothing moved. When he came back out, his face was pale under the beam. No power, no furniture, no people. "So, what's inside?" I asked. He didn't answer. He held up something instead. A Polaroid photo, sealed in a sandwich bag. He'd found it under a floor vent. The picture showed the same porch in daylight, less warped, but still tired. A cardboard box on the mat. Under it, a date written in sharp pen. April 12th, 2018. Matt didn't recognize it, but I did. That was the same day the Baker family disappeared from Cedar Rapids. I remember the news. A father, mother, and 2 daughters vanished. House locked. No signs of struggle. Theories ranged from abduction to a failed witness relocation. Later, detectives confirmed it. The house in the photo was 301 Old Quarry Road. But it shouldn't have been. The property had been condemned in 2021. No utilities, no deliveries. The address had been blacklisted by every major courier. So how the hell did QuickDash's system let the order through? Back at the station, they logged everything. Photos, my dash cam, the voicemail recording. Matt filed an incident report and let me crash on the cot in the lounge until morning. By the time I got home, the whole night felt like a fever dream. Until 3 days later. That's when the box showed up. December 6th, a Monday. Cold, with sleet tapping the windows. I got home from class, dumped my backpack by the door, and stepped outside to grab the mail. There it was. A small cardboard box, plain, untaped, no shipping label. Just twine wrapped tight and a note tucked underneath. Thank you for your delivery, Aaron. Here's our photo. Thought you should keep it. 301. Inside the box? The same Polaroid deputy Matt had shown me. Only now. There was a second photo stuck to it with yellowed Scotch tape. The new photo froze me. It was taken from inside the house. From the darkness, behind the half-open door, looking out onto the porch. Lit by the flash of my phone. And there I was, me, caught mid-delivery. My jacket, my barcode scanner, my startled face, just beginning to turn away. Someone had been waiting inside, watching, with a camera. I called Matt. He filed it. Evidence. Dusted for prints. Nothing. They promised extra patrols, but admitted they had no real leads. The case went cold before Christmas. I graduated in the spring, moved to Des Moines, tried to bury it in freshman chaos and dorm noise. But even now, years later, I still wake up sometimes, gasping, half dreaming of gravel underfoot and wind slicing through trees. And that voicemail whispering in my ear, leave the box and walk away. I wonder, what would have happened if I hadn't? Pizza delivery never came with hazard pay until that night. I didn't realize I was in danger until the door clicked shut behind me, and the pizza I'd just handed over went straight into the freezer. It started like every Monday shift, hot, humid, slow. At 8:57 p.m., just as we were prepping to close, Tina waved a ticket at me. Cash order, large sausage and mushroom, back entrance only, fronts under renovation. 15 minutes later, I was parked in a dark alley behind a row of half-gutted duplexes. One house had fresh concrete stairs leading down to a basement. The steel door at the bottom, propped open, with a paint can. I grabbed the hot bag, called out, and stepped inside. The moment the door swung shut behind me, I knew. There was no crew, no renovation, no second exit. And the man waiting inside? He'd been expecting someone alone. I worked nights for South Grand Pizzeria in St. Louis. Better tips, less traffic, and the miles stacked quick on a beat-up Corolla with a half-dead AC. It paid better than my warehouse job and left me enough for rent and textbooks. Mondays were usually dead. But that night was thick with heat. Upper 90s, even after sunset. And no one wanted to cook. I'd already run 4 orders up creaky porches in Dutchtown, climbed split levels in Carondelet, and was wiping sweat from my neck when Tina handed me the last ticket. 4, 2, 1, 4, Fortin. Back entrance only. Front's under renovation. Says tips on the workbench. Normal enough. I'd seen weirder. Clayton Avenue ran alongside Forest Park. Half investment flips, half abandoned duplexes. Dumpsters sat like sun-baked tombs in every other yard. The kind of place where progress meant plywood and plastic wrap instead of people. I found the alley behind the address. No numbers back there, but the GPS said, "Arrived." That's when I saw the stairs. New concrete. Sharp edges, still pale from the pour. They descended clean into a narrow basement entry. A yellow-painted steel door stood open, wedged by a crusted paint can. Above it, someone had rigged a motion light. It clicked on the second my tires hit the gravel. Inside, I could see drywall, tools, a long folding table. I parked, killed the engine, grabbed the pizza bag and receipts. The alley was silent. No music, no voices, just cicadas whining in the trees. I knocked on the frame. "Pizza," I called. "South Grand. Cash order." Footsteps clinked on metal treads. Then a man appeared. He looked mid-30s. Trim beard. Hair slicked back despite the heat. Wearing a gray renovation t-shirt and a black knee brace that pushed against his cargo shorts. His voice was smooth. Too smooth. "Hey, sorry. Can you bring it inside? I'm supposed to stay off the leg. Tips on the workbench." Company policy said not to cross thresholds. But in practice, we all did it. Elderly customers with walkers. Parents juggling kids. Drunk college kids with no hands free. Still, something in his tone. It wasn't apologetic, like most customers asking for a favor. It was confident. Too confident. My grip tightened on the handle. "Can you meet me at the door?" He shifted his weight, winced a little. "Stairs are rough tonight. It's literally 15 feet. I've got cash waiting." I hesitated. The air drifting out from behind him smelled like damp lumber and garlic from old orders. But behind that, a sharper note crept in. Metallic. Not quite blood, but close enough to raise something primal. I almost said no. Then he turned, slowly, limping down 3 steps, gesturing for me to follow. Like the decision was already made. My mind flipped through my options. Refuse the order. Lose the tip. Call Tina. Get chewed out for being paranoid. Or follow him inside, just a few steps, grab the cash, and leave. Pride nudged me forward. The pizza bag stayed in my hands. A thin barrier between me and the workroom. The motion light clicked off behind me, plunging the stairs into shadow. Only a single bulb glowed at the base, its pull chain swaying slightly. The man's shoulders filled the stairwell as I followed him down. The door eased shut behind me, halfway, just enough for a breeze to be ruled out. He flicked a second switch. A basement workroom flickered into view. Exposed stud walls. Half-framed rooms. Rolls of Romex like nooses dangling between joists. Sawdust clung to plastic sheeting. In one corner, a battered white chest freezer, its lid beaded with condensation. A long folding table cut the space in half. And on that table, takeout bags. Dozens. Domino's, Panda Express, Jimmy John's, Chick-fil-A. Some still full. Some collapsed. Grease pooled under the seams. Labels smeared. Plastic warping from heat. "Contractors eat garbage, man," he chuckled behind me. "Been feeding the crew all week." I nodded slowly, but there was no extra dust from boots, no belts or helmets hanging, no radio on in the background, just one folding chair, one dent in the seat pad. He reached the workbench, opened a drawer, and pulled out a fat envelope. "Really appreciate you coming around back," he said. Jason's the name, by the way. He dropped the envelope onto the table between a Chick-fil-A bag and a McDonald's sack. It landed with a padded thunk. "That's way too much," I stammered. What I wanted to say was, "That feels like hush money." Consider it danger pay, he smiled. Renovation zones can be sketchy. His eyes never left mine. Something itched between my shoulders. I set the pizza down carefully, away from the piles of rotting takeout. He lifted the lid, glanced at the contents, and closed it again. Didn't even take a slice. Perfect temperature, he murmured. Got another run, I lied, stepping backward. When my heel hit the bottom stair, I turned, just in time to see the basement door swing shut. No wind, just a slow, heavy thud. Then the click of a bolt sliding home. My stomach dropped. Relax, man, Jason said gently. It'll open. Been having trouble with the latch. Settling foundation. He limped to the freezer, popped the lid, slid the pizza box inside. That metallic smell surged, stronger now, sweet underneath. Rotting fruit, or something worse. I forced a laugh, my mouth bone dry. Seriously, I need to get going. Could you unlock that? He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle, like he was deciding who he needed to be next. The polite host was gone. What remained was calm, curious, cold. Of course, he said. But instead of heading for the door, he reached under the table and lifted a Milwaukee pry bar, held it loose at his side. You never know when you'll need leverage, he said. These old houses. Supports rot. Floors give. There was a crack of silence between us. 4 seconds, maybe 5. Then instinct took over. I lunged for the stairs, but my foot slipped on sawdust. His hand caught my elbow, harder than any man with a knee brace should have moved. He yanked me back, other hand already reaching for the back of my neck. His fingers locked tight around the back of my neck. He tried to shove me toward the unfinished room, just beyond the studs, where a sheet of plastic hung like a curtain. Behind it, I saw a circular saw blade leaning against the wall, crusted with something brown. I twisted hard and slammed my shoulder into his ribs. He grunted, grip loosening, just enough. I ran. Not for the stairs. For the laundry chute I'd noticed earlier. Open, plywood hatch hanging loose. Too small, too risky. Window. I grabbed a 2x4, wedged it through the freezer handle, pinning the lid shut. Another board, hurled into the basement window. Glass burst outward, scattering into the alley. Jason shouted. No words, just sound, rage. I dove. Glass sliced my forearm, brick scraped my ribs. I didn't care. I was halfway through when he grabbed my ankle. Hard, stronger than he looked. He hauled me back once, my knee smacked the sill, pain flashed white. I kicked wildly, hit something soft, maybe his shoulder. His grip slipped. I pushed again. Outside, rolled into the alley. Asphalt cut my palms. Keys, still in my pocket. Hands shaking, I hit the fob. Lights blinked. I sprinted for the Corolla. Footsteps behind me, then nothing. A second later, whistle. Clang. The pry bar struck the trunk of my car, dented it, rolled away. I started the engine. It roared to life. As I pulled off, I looked in the rear view. He stood there, under the motion light, breathing hard. He didn't chase. He just raised one hand, not waving, marking. 2 days later, the house was empty. Dumpster gone, door relocked, window patched. The cops found nothing. No permit, no name, no Jason. A month passed. I quit the pizzeria, got a day job at the airport. Then the envelopes started. The first was a Chick-fil-A receipt dated 2 days after the incident. Initial, J. The second, a newspaper photo. My car, dented trunk visible, parked outside my apartment. The third, a typed note. You left before dessert. Pizza delivery was never supposed to be dangerous, but the night I delivered to Rowan Heights, someone handed me a white envelope, told me to count it later. I opened it in my car. Inside wasn't money, just powder, off-white, clinging to the edges like sugar. 2 gulps of water. Later, the world began to spin. I woke up at sunrise in a Kroger parking lot, miles from where I'd parked the night before. The envelope was still in my lap, and a cop was knocking on my window, asking if I was okay. That's when I realized whoever drugged me wasn't finished. I'd been delivering for Varsity Slice in Atlanta since the start of the semester at Georgia State. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid rent on my Grant Park studio and covered enough ramen to survive finals. Most nights were traffic, taillights, and double-parked rideshares. Delivery was predictable, safe even. That Thursday shift started like any other. Light drizzle, temps hovering just above freezing. The kind of weather that made people order instead of cook. At 10:18 p.m., I was sliding into last call territory when Marlon, our dispatcher, called out from the counter. "Yo, Caleb, one more. Rowan Heights, Building D Unit 402. Cash. Knock soft. Note says they've got an older relative. Don't wake her." I'd been to Rowan Heights once. A 1970s complex 3 blocks off the Beltline. Smelled like boiled vegetables and wet carpet. But the elevators worked, which was already a win. I loaded the insulated bag, large pepperoni, side salad, extra ranch, and hit the road. The drizzle turned into needle-fine rain. Streetlights glittered in the haze. Christmas jazz warbled through the car radio. When I pulled into the south lot, Building D loomed in sodium orange. 10 stories. Red stenciled D by the entry door. Rows of dark windows. Inside smelled of lemon disinfectant and old shoes. The hallway was quiet. Fluorescents buzzed. Mailboxes overflowed with catalogs. The elevator dinged. A woman stood waiting with a plastic grocery cart filled with yarn and cat litter. She didn't make eye contact. I held the door. She muttered a tired thanks. She got off on 3rd. I rode to 4th. The hall was carpeted, narrow, lined with acoustic panels, the kind that make every sound louder. Unit 402 sat dead center. I knocked twice. Soft, like the note said. Footsteps creaked inside, floorboards groaning, chain rattling. Then the door cracked open. A gray-haired woman squinted through the gap, wearing a faded Falcons sweatshirt and half-moon glasses. "Evening," I said. "Large pepperoni for Jordan. Paid cash?" She frowned. "Sweetheart, Jordan's my grandson. But he's not here this week. I didn't order anything." I held up the receipt. "Rowan Heights D402. Says to knock soft, so you wouldn't be disturbed." She shook her head, gentle but firm. "No one here but me and Mr. Boots." A tortoiseshell cat darted between her legs, hissed at the pizza scent, then vanished into the shadows. I apologized. Said it must have been a digit off. She nodded like she'd seen worse mistakes and started to close the door. That's when a calm male voice floated down the hallway. That was for me. "Sorry about that." I turned. A man in his mid-30s walked toward us from the stairwell. Tall. Hoodie zipped to the chin. Messenger bag slung across his chest. He smiled, disarming and polite. Mixed up building letters. "I'm D418. Jordan's me." Long story. Mrs. Briggs offered a polite hum and vanished behind her door, bolts sliding into place. The man stopped a few feet from me, hands open. "Chris," he said. "App glitched or I did. Either way, appreciate you being chill about it." "No problem," I said, handing over the pizza and salad bag. He produced a white envelope. Thick, about the size of a paperback. "Tips in there?" he said. "Don't count it here. You'll drop half. Call it a holiday bonus." I thanked him, slid the envelope inside my jacket, and turned toward the elevator. As I descended, the warmth from the pizza bag mingled with the lobby's bleach-heavy air. But something felt off. Maybe the temp change. Maybe final exams eating my sleep. Maybe how he never even glanced inside the box. Varsity sliced pepperonis smell like napalm. No one ignores that. By the time I reached my car, my stomach had folded in on itself. Fine. I hadn't eaten dinner. That was all. I took 2 gulps from my water bottle and started the engine. But something wasn't right. The heater kicked out stale fries and dust. Streetlights blurred into amber smears. A sharp wave of vertigo made me swerve. I pulled into a parking space outside a closed diner, laid my forehead on the wheel, breathed, shallow, steady. The envelope pressed against my ribs. He'd said not to open it in the hall. Maybe the air, the motion, the... Curiosity cracked me. I tore the tape. Inside wasn't money, not even close, just powder. Fine, pale, clinging to the corners like flour. Some had puffed out when I opened it, onto my hands, my jacket. A metallic taste bloomed in my mouth. I cursed, grabbed napkins from the glove box, wiped furiously. My head throbbed, then, blackout. I woke to sunlight. Someone was knocking on the window. A cop, hand on his flashlight, concerned. "You okay, bud?" I blinked. It was 7:26 a.m. Friday. I was parked crooked in a Kroger parking lot, miles from Rowan Heights. My seatbelt was still on. My shirt was damp with sweat. And in my lap, the envelope. Edges wrinkled, residue still clinging to the seams. The officer asked me to step out. My legs felt like jelly. He spotted the envelope and used latex gloves to lift it. "What's this?" I told him everything. Slurred, shaky. Pizza run. Wrong door. Big tip. Instant nausea. He smelled my breath. Checked my pupils. Called for EMTs. Vitals. Elevated heart rate. Mild hypotension. No alcohol. No clear signs of overdose. But whatever it was, it hit hard. They offered a hospital ride. I refused. Couldn't afford it. At the precinct, Patrolman Denning joined us, took the envelope, logged it into evidence, asked careful questions. 2 hours later, Denning came back. "Field test shows opioid residue," he said. "Probably fentanyl. Maybe carfentanil. Could have absorbed through your skin or inhaled it." I stared at the wall behind him, trying not to imagine what maybe carfentanil meant. They dispatched a unit to Rowan Heights. Unit 418, vacant. Stripped drywall, no furniture. Security cameras, out of service since August. Tenant logs, no Jordan, no Chris. Mrs. Briggs confirmed the hallway exchange, but hadn't gotten a clear look at him. Fingerprints? Just mine and hers. Varsity Slice's insurance covered the toxicology test. Marlon told me to take the weekend off. I stayed on my futon in the dark, laptop closed. And the scene replayed in my head, slower each time. The envelope. How he never looked at it. The way he called it a bonus, like a setup for a trick. But what gnawed deeper was this. He didn't care if I lived or died. Maybe I wasn't even the target. Maybe I was the delivery method, meant to drop the envelope somewhere, to someone else. Maybe Mrs. Briggs was the real mark. But I passed out with the envelope still sealed. And that messed up the plan. The lab confirmed it days later. Fentanyl analog, laced with caffeine, absorbable, potent, enough to drop a dorm floor with a full dose. A PD opened a case, but leads were thin. I sold the car, changed phones, moved across town, took a job shelving used books for minimum wage. Never touched another delivery bag. May 2nd, end of spring semester. My phone buzzed, unknown number. "Hey, this is Chris from Rowan Heights," the voice said, calm as ever. "Heard you quit delivering. Shame. You were good." I hung up, blocked the number. My heart pounded. 10 seconds later, another call. Different number. "Left something at your front desk. No envelope this time. Promise I called Denning. He sent a cruiser. The desk staff had received a padded mailer, no return address. Inside was a varsity slice receipt, ticket number 9. My handwriting on the back, scrawled in thick marker, "Don't wake her." I transferred campuses, moved again. But the calls haven't stopped. Always one ring. No voicemail, or sometimes just hallway noise. Acoustic buzz, a microwave ding, faint footsteps. They trace to spoofed numbers. Overseas relays. No leads. Last week, a rideshare driver handed me a white envelope. Said someone flagged him down near Little 5 Points. Said you'd know who it's from. It's still on my coffee table. Sealed. I haven't touched it. Denning says they'll test it, but he sounded tired when he said it. Evidence without a suspect is just dust and paperwork. Some nights, I think of Mrs. Briggs. How her cat hissed at the hallway, like animals know things we miss. And I picture Chris, or Jordan, or whatever his name is, somewhere out there, in some other apartment block, some other city. Phones lined up, practicing his script, waiting for another polite stranger to deliver the last mistake they'll ever make. And every time I hear a phone buzz, I taste metal in my mouth. So if someone hands you an envelope and tells you not to open it yet, ask yourself one thing. What if you were never supposed to see what's inside?